Disappoint people. Didn't get the love you want from people you wanted most from. Discipline. Hi, I'm Loka Happy, and girl, it's nearly my birthday again. Who knew it would come around this fast, okay? Who fracking knew? I'm gonna turn 26. Also, I just came from casting. Look at this hair and makeup, girl. Like, so I was like, you know what? I think it's only appropriate to tell you the things you need to know in your 20s. That's crazy. I'm gonna be 30 soon, and I'm not gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I'm 30, so. So the first thing I want to talk about is recognizing and understanding that it's not your fault. I'm not saying like it's not your fault, like you burn a house down and then you're like, it's not my fault, okay? That's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say here is that it's not your fault that you didn't get the love you want from people you wanted it from the most. It's not your fault. And this was something that I had to come to terms with and something that I had to recognize, because at the end of the day, the person that's gonna love you the most is not your mom, is not your dad, is not your sister, is not your pet dog or cat, it's not your boyfriend or bestie. It's gonna be you. And you're the only person who's gonna give yourself that validation, that love. And that is the most liberating thing and the most important thing that you have to recognize. So let me give you an example from this like TED talk that I heard. So it was, this guy was talking about how when you're around 7 years old is when you start to form an opinion of yourself. Things that impacted you in those age will be carried on later in life. So let me give you an example, okay? So let's say I went shopping with my mama. Okay, this is just an example. I went shopping with my mom. Let's say my mom was having trouble with money. Okay, like her credit card, something about her money, okay? And she's carrying this store and she's like, I don't have enough money, blah, 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 blah. But you go into the supermarket, you go in with your mama, and you're about to check out in the counter. And you're like, you know what, oh my god, mommy, I love this Snicker bar. I really want this chocolate bar. Like, this is like my #1 favorite bar, as a 7-year-old child would say. And you're so persistent and you're like, mom, I really want it, I really want it. But mom's like, no. And then you ask again and she's like, no. And then she starts to be like, yeah, you know what I mean? She starts to snap because she can't just tell you, well, we have no money. Our credit card is gonna be declined. And so your mother ends up snapping at you. She says anything that will make you stop doing what you're doing. For example, she might be like, well, you're not deserving of it, okay, so stop. Like, stop crying about it, you don't need it. Or she says things that, you were a naughty kid today, so therefore you're not gonna get it. And so that kind of sticks with you as you grow older. And so you end up spending your life thinking that way, thinking that you are undeserving of things or undeserving of something. It doesn't have to be undeserving, but it can just be trauma that has happened to you as a child that kind of is like a little parasite, okay? I like to say it's a little parasite which is like on you and like sucking your blood quietly, but in areas that you cannot see. You end up growing up and thinking these things, that you're undeserving of love and that you are not worth it, you need to validate people, you need a this, depending on how you grew up, of course. It's very important to recognize these things because it can sabotage what you want to do in life. And it can be so self-limiting and you just go on living with it. And you end up having things like resentment, like I can't do this, I'll never be good enough, I have to do this in order to please this person. You end up having all these things that you don't even know was there. And it's just like a little parasite, like sucking on the back of your ear. Oh girl, oh. So some people go on living like that. Some people go on living their days without realizing that they have this parasite, these ticks in the crevices of their bodies, and they don't notice it. And it's so important to recognize these things and be like, okay, I gotta take it off, because if I don't take it off, my energy is all gonna be sucked into that parasite. So I gotta, you know, take it off. It's also, I would also say sometimes it's also comfortable because it's what you've been used to for your entire life. And so that's why some people don't remove those ticks or those parasites, because it's normal. It's normal now. You know, like for example, okay, earrings, right? You pierce your ears and you put on earrings. You go on living with earrings and you just don't notice it anymore. You just live with it. It causes you to not reach your fullest potential or do the things that you want to do the most, because either it's fear, because it's either, oh well, it's not comfortable, therefore I don't want to step out of my comfort zone because it just feels dangerous, it feels new, it feels uncomfortable. That would be one advice that I definitely give, is trying to recognize these things, these trauma, these things that happen to you, self-limiting beliefs, or just something that you believe is sabotaging yourself, or thoughts that are sabotaging yourself, because then you won't be able to really reach your full potential. I'm not saying you have to remove all the tick at once, obviously. Sometimes when you do that, the shock is too real. So you gotta do it slowly, remove one tick at a time, 2 tick at a time. It's no rush. And one thing that really stuck to me that my therapist said was, recognizing is already half the battle. Recognizing is already half the battle. And so once you recognize these things, these little ticks and whatnot, healing and learning to trust yourself again is the next step. Heal the wound that has been now opened. I would say the best thing that ever, besides obviously my cats and my sister and everything, but the best thing that has ever happened to me was going to counseling, going to therapy. I think there's just so much taboo and I feel so horrible, and I want to raise as much awareness as I can, especially here where I live. It's a big taboo where it's like, oh, you're going to therapy? Oh, you must be like crazy. It's like, no. I just want to heal and I want to learn more about myself, and I want to understand myself, understand my feeling, understand my trauma, and be the best version of myself. It has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with you being weak, okay? I've literally had people come up to me while I'm sharing my story, okay? And I think it's, I don't know, I think it's a very important topic to talk about when I'm sharing my story about panic attacks, because I used to have really horrible panic attacks, and that consumed majority of my university life. I just had, it was horrible. It was dark times, you know? It was horrible, but I remember sharing a story about me having my panic attacks, just a brief thing, and somebody came up to me, somebody close to me came up to me and said, why did you do that? Why did you share that story? Did you want to, is the purpose to get attention? And I was like, whoa. Like, why would I need to get attention? I went off, queen. I should have kept my cool, maybe, because I mean, people who will hear will listen to you, people who won't hear you. So I guess pick your battle as well. But I knew my battle, and I knew that that was not an okay thing to say, and it was so disrespectful to me that someone who's close to me at that level would say something like that to me. Do you know how many people are going through something that is so scary and so lonely to feel like that? Do you understand how powerful it is for you to share your experience and be like, I felt this too, so you're not alone? I don't know, some people just don't understand that, and I don't want to waste my time on people like that, because I have no need to explain myself. If you want to take it, you take it. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. So if you're in university, if you're in school, I'm sure there are resources that you can look into. For example, resources like counseling, resources like therapy. If you are able to have access to that resource, take advantage of it. Honestly, do it. Don't care about what people think, just go ahead and do it. I was so glad that I took that opportunity or that resource that I had, and I convinced myself I really had to do it with someone. I needed a space where I was able to just talk about everything, and it was non-judgmental, and I could share what I had or what I felt very deeply inside, so that I had an insight about my life, who I am as a person, what my values are, and just discovering that and uncovering traumas that I had when I was young. It hella did open a Pandora box of things, but I'm so glad I did it, because I started to recognize all these things about myself, about my experiences, how I was raised up as a child, the things I went through, and slowly understood how I worked and how my mind worked, and how I can better help myself be at the best potential I can be. You can do it, and you choosing not to do it is two different things. That's something that you have the power to decide, and I cannot decide that for you. If you want to change, or if you want to stay how you are in your comfort zone. So heal, let go. You let go not for the sake of the person, but you let go for yourself, and yourself only. Period. Now I know some of you who are watching might not have access to things like that, and when I didn't have access to things like that, I found out that journaling was something very, very important, and searching questions like self-prompt for journaling was also very, very important. Podcasts are also very important, especially TED Talks. Affirmations, okay? Positive affirmations in the morning. If you can brainwash yourself into thinking all those negative things like I can't, I will never, I'm not going to be successful, why can't you brainwash yourself into thinking positive things? Why can't you? You can brainwash yourself to think you're not good enough, you're not beautiful, you're ugly, you're horrible, you're the worst person ever. If you can do that, why can't you brainwash yourself into thinking, well, I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, I can do it, I can be successful? You gotta trick your brain a little bit. You guys should disappoint people more often. I'm the queen of validation. I needed validation, especially from this one person, yeah. I really needed validation from that, and I did not recognize this until really later on, until I successfully accomplished everything that I thought this person would be proud of, and I got nothing back. So you're telling me I did all that not to get like, you did so good already? None of that. You're telling me and I think that was when I kind of realized like, well, I did that for somebody else, but I didn't do it for myself. And it was very heartbreaking, and it was very heart-throbbing, and it was a reality that I had to face, and I'm so mother effing grateful that I took the step back and I was like, whoa, so I did that not for myself. That is literally so disrespectful to myself. Anyways, but we're not gonna dwell on that, okay? We live, we learn. We make mistakes, we come back up, we learn from it. And so what that really leads to is the fact that you wanted to do something to get someone else's validation leads you further into something that you realize you did not want to do in the beginning. And not saying you should beat yourself up, but it's okay to realize that you've made a mistake, and it's okay, and be gentle, right? Okay, yeah, I did, sure. You admit it, you're like, sure, I did that, I effed up maybe a bit too hard, but the next time I now know from the lessons that I've had from my previous experience, I now know what I can do better, or how to stop those train of thoughts when I do come across them. But I recognize that after I graduated with that specific degree and I started working for public health, and I tried so hard, girl, I was like trying as much to be disciplined. I was not slacking. I was trying so hard to do this job. I put all my energy, all my effort, but you know what it felt like? It literally feels like swimming against a current. And if you know about anything about swimming in a current, it's so tiring because I had to muster so much energy to do something. And it was not slacking off. It was just that it was a sign that it's not what I wanted to do. Truly, if I stuck to it, and truly if I kept swimming against that current, at one point in time, I will literally drown. I would have probably reached a point where I couldn't swim anymore. I couldn't go against the tide anymore, that I would drown. And it was hard. It was really hard, but I was really true to myself, and I found that when I realized that, okay, I'm doing public health so that I'm able to pursue what I really want to pursue, which is making content, which is modeling, that I'm okay to do this right now until I reach my point where I can somewhat sustain myself with what I enjoy doing. And so that's what I had to do. I had to be very true to myself, because no one else was gonna tell me that. No one else was gonna tell me that it's okay that you don't do that, because they don't see what you want to do. And that's why it goes back to the fact that you are the only person who can love yourself the most. You are the only person who can give yourself that validation, to give yourself, hey, you're on the right path. You just gotta be patient. You just gotta trust that you are gonna reach there, and how you are and what you're gonna do so that you can bring yourself to that point. What are you gonna do? What are you willing to do? And obviously that did not make people happy. Okay? So that's why you have to disappoint people, because guess what? It's either you disappoint people and you live your best life, or you don't live your best life and you don't disappoint people. So wouldn't you rather disappoint people and live your best life, or just live a life that is not your true calling, is not what is making you happy, to please other people? Because that's your life, girl. They're not living your life. You're living your life. Okay? You are living your life. And so we come to the point where we reach the point where it's like you have to disappoint people, even if it's people you love. You know, they don't see the potential that you see in yourself. Sure, maybe you will come across people who do, but you can't rely on the fact that you will come across people who see your potential. You have to see your potential. Be your own potential energy to create kinetic energy, okay? Potential to kinetic. Oh, some physics, some biology there. Making use of my degree, okay? When people told me 4 years, such a waste, what a pity. I'm like, yeah, but you're not putting food on my table. You are not paying for my electricity. You're not paying for this roof on my head. You're not paying for my transportation, for my leisure. Sure, you did pay for the other things, which I'm very grateful for, very happy for, but that will not dictate who you are. They've had their time to live theirs. They have their own life. If you want to do it, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? Maybe you should listen to this video from the very beginning, the first tip. Just do what you have to do, even if it means like, okay, let's do babysitting job. Just save as much as you can so that you can be free from someone else making a decision for you. Because at the end of the day, as much as I want to be like, money is not important, money is important, okay? Because he's gonna feed me, who's gonna, you know, feed me good food in my belly, like my sugar baba, my sugar mama, my sugar baby, I don't know, you know what I mean? You gotta be the one who feed food and put food on the table for yourself. And then you can really truly be like, who's gonna control how I think and what I wanna do, okay? Within the laws. Please don't be like, I want to be a druggie. Please don't be like, I want to sell some cocaine in the golden triangle. That's not what we're talking about here, girls. Now that you have all those things, yeah, all those, oh my gosh, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, because it's so confusing when you're in your 20s. You don't know what you do. You just graduated uni, or you just graduated high school, and then, okay, you were doing something or whatever, okay? It's a confusing time, because you do this and you do that and you try to figure out what role are you playing, what do you want to do with your life now, how you want to live your life. As much as that is true, you have all this time and you have so much freedom. You know, you don't have risk, you don't have a family, you don't have baby, you don't have down payment to pay for. You're free. Majority of you, I would say, you're free to decide. You're free to fail. Don't be scared of failure. You're free to do all those things. So the next part and the next aspect I want to talk about is routine and discipline. Crazy coming from me. Routine and discipline. Christina, in 26 years of my living life, do I find myself sitting here and saying routine and discipline? I'm the least routine and disciplined kind of girl, okay? I'm very spontaneous. I do things with a whim. I do not plan things, and I'm very biased towards one thing. Like, for example, when I was in university, I just worked. It was so bad to the point where I wasn't taking proper care of myself. I had horrible bad habits. I was not eating the best things. I was not living the healthiest lifestyle because I didn't have a routine. Now that I look back at it, I'm grateful that I have a routine, but it was something that I noticed now, that routine was so important. Because when you are in school, you have a routine. You wake up at 7, you go to school at 8, you have a schedule, you play sports after, you come back home, you do your homework, you shower. But when you are free, you don't have those constraints, and it can be a good thing and a bad thing. If you are able to balance and be like, okay, this is the routine I want to stick for, this is what works for me, very good. My example, for me, I didn't have that because I had people set routine for me my entire life that I didn't know how to do that for myself, to set my own routine. And it's a very important thing to have. And so obviously start up small. I started out by telling myself, okay, what we're gonna do, Christina, all right, we're gonna set half the day. You can do the planning, you can do whatever you have to do. Planning, okay, what am I gonna do? You do your chores, whatever. I do that half my day. I get everything clean so that I'm set in the mood to work. The rest of the day, I edit, I film, I shoot, I make briefs, I send drafts, I reply emails, reply DMs and things like that. So that at least gave me some form of structure. If you have already a work that you're doing, perfect. Then you can plan around that job or that structure or whatever. So you have to show up for yourself. You have to, even though it feels fracking uncomfortable, okay? It really does feel uncomfortable. But when you get it done, it feels so nice. When I started to get that, I started to trust myself more when I showed up and did what I had to do, even though it was uncomfortable. If I want to do something I love, who do I have to be? What kind of person do I have to be so that I can reach that point in my life? How do I get there? Also, learning new things and adding value to yourself is something that I've been doing, from the podcast, the affirmations, the what's nots that I do in the morning. I read 30 minutes. I set my time. Okay, wake up, 30 minutes. I'm gonna read for 30 minutes. I don't care. Okay, there are plenty of books. And I learned so much about myself through reading those books and how I can add value to myself for myself. Environment. Hear me out. Environment. I know sometimes it's hard to change your environment, and I know sometimes you can be in an environment that is very comfortable, even though it's very toxic. I understand, but you can't allow people to change your judgment or your opinion of yourself. There will be people who will tell you what you should do, how you should act, what you should blah blah blah. Just things that change the way you think of yourself. And so what you always want to do is in one ear, out the other. I think it's such a useful term, in one ear, out the other. When people have something to say about you, unless it's someone you really value their opinion and their insight isn't to hurt you. You know this person and they want the best for you. That's when you want to, okay, listen. But you don't want to listen too much. You just want to listen and reflect and trust yourself that you know this is okay, this is maybe something I should adjust, this is maybe something that I can compromise, this is something that I can work on. Moderation is key here. It's hard to find that balance, but you always got to remind yourself, the advice that this person is giving me, is it from someone who knows what I'm doing? Like, it has experience in my field? If it's not, in one ear, out the other. No amount of affirmation, no amount of self-love quotes and reading self-help books is gonna help you if you're surrounded by people who are so negative towards you, so towards people who pulls you down, who sees you as competition, who wants to see you fall and fail. No amount of affirmation is gonna help you, because if you're constantly surrounded by these people, you will take in that energy. And so what you can do is distance yourself. You don't have to right away, okay? But you can distance yourself. Anyways, my loves, the sun is going down, 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 okay? At the end of the day, you choose what you want to do with your life, and you choose how you want to live your life, okay? So you are allowed to live for yourself. And once you start to practice your craft, it becomes a habit, and it becomes something that you're comfortable with now. Comfortable with accepting yourself, loving yourself, giving yourself praise, all of that goodness, okay? It becomes a habit for you, and a good habit for you to reach where you want to be. So do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on yourself. Don't do it, queen. Don't give up on yourself, okay? Don't do it, because I believe that you can do it, okay? So now all you have to do is believe that you can do it as well, okay? If I can do it, you can do it, my loves. Anyways, I hope you learned something, and I hope you found something that was useful in this video and that will help you become the best version of yourself. I cannot wait for you to reach a point where you're so comfortable with yourself to tell yourself that you're a boss bitch. Oh, that you're a boss, okay? I can't wait for that day that will come, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you all, and I'll see you all later. Bye. It's nearly my birthday. I'm gonna be 26 soon. That's crazy.